Hi there, this is Ross from the Great Updraft. I make weekly videos with tools for self-transformation, so do subscribe for the latest. In this video, I want to share an important concept for you that you need for your self-mastery, and that is that of the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. And knowing about these two mindsets will help you identify when you're shooting yourself in the foot, when you're trying to learn something in your relationships, in your professional life, and so on. And what you can do with these two mindsets is you can basically track and predict your own results and actions based on the features of these two mindsets. And that's what Carol Dweck, the lady who came up with this concept, did in her classic book. It's a classic self-help book called Mindset. She saw that these two mindsets lead to dramatically different results, and it's just because of a, a change in mentality or a difference in mentality that causes people to reach remarkably different levels in their pursuits. People with a growth mindset tend to have better relationships, they tend to learn better, and they tend to deal with criticism more effectively. Those with a fixed mindset tend to have unhealthy relationships, they tend to be more fearful, and they tend to avoid criticism. It's not all we just want to be growth, we just want to have a growth mindset. We don't want to have a fixed mindset at all. No. Later on in the video, I'm going to share what are the good parts and the bad parts, the gifts and the gremlins of each of these two mindsets. And at the end of the video, we're going to look at two fundamental pillars of self-transformation, two of the pillars that I talk about, self-mastery and career. And we're going to look at how the growth mindset and the fixed mindset affects our results in those two areas. So let's get down to it. What is the fixed mindset? First of all, let's look at the fixed mindset. The cornerstone of the fixed mindset, the key component of it is the belief that our qualities are fixed. So we believe that we are a certain way, that we are bound to be that way, and we always have been. So you are intelligent or you're not. You're either good at playing basketball or you're not. You're good at playing football or you're not. You can do maths or you can't do maths. It's an unalterable trait. So you can't go from zero to hero. You're stuck there, and you just have to figure it out essentially. You'll hear people with a fixed mindset often saying things like, this is the way I do it. Don't tell me how to change. Like, I don't want to change. This is how I do it. And I actually experienced this with a friend of mine who I was playing pool with. I'm a keen pool player and I know quite a lot about pool. And I was trying to give him some advice saying, look, if you just spin the white a little bit this way, or if you do this thing here, that'll really help you with this pool thing. I want to go into all the pool details. And their reaction was basically, no, I don't do it that way. Stop telling me how to play pool. Except that I was beating them all the time, and really it wasn't because I was doing anything magical. It was just that I knew the tricks of the trade essentially, and they weren't up for knowing about that. So that's a common reaction from fixed mindset people. With this idea that our qualities are fixed, and a sort of corollary to that is that the people with fixed mindset, they place a huge importance on talent and innate ability. So it's like, that guy is so talented, he just knows how to do this thing over here, or this person was born that way and they were born being able to play the piano like Mozart, for example. And what this means is that the results of the fixed mindset person, if they take an exam, for example, and they don't do very well, they think that that reveals their innate nature, because they think that their qualities are fixed. They do badly in an exam, therefore their innate nature is bad, it's negative, it's faulty, it's not up to the mark, because they fundamentally believe that their qualities are fixed. So what the fixed mindset person does is they go through life attempting to protect this fragile identity that they have, or well, in some areas it might have a very strong identity because they feel that they've reached a certain level of competency there. Essentially, they basically try to protect what they have and they don't push themselves out of their comfort zone and try to learn and improve themselves. They're scared by new challenges and opportunities, so the comfort zone is an issue for us all, but it's especially an issue for the fixed mindset person because their whole identity rests on their comfort zone because the perimeter of their competency basically defines who they are. It's not a temporary definition. It's not a temporary illustration of who they are. It's more like an eternal picture of who they are as a person and who they are bound to be for the rest of their lives. The fixed mindset person punishes themselves for making mistakes, and they pride themselves on being a perfectionist because if our qualities are fixed, then criticism is just criticizing me. It's not criticizing my ability, which is changing and morphing and improving and can be altered. No, it's really, you haven't done this well, therefore you aren't enough. That's how the fixed mindset person takes criticism. Failure to the fixed mindset person, again, it has a similar flavor. It's like, I'm not enough, therefore I have failed. It's not, I don't have the skills right now, I don't know how to do it right now. It's more like, I am not enough, I am not up to scratch, and therefore that's why I've failed. And you can see why this is a real issue, and we'll get onto the issues with the fixed mindset in a moment. The fixed mindset person can be unwilling to take risks, and they'll say things like, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Like that's like the motto of the fixed mindset, because taking risks, you have to admit that you aren't enough, and you have to admit that your skills aren't enough, and you have to sort of have the intuition that those can be improved. And the fixed mindset person that just doesn't understand that. They fear effort and challenge because they don't think that effort and challenging themselves is actually going to do anything because their qualities are fixed. I've actually seen this in people who have reached a certain level of competence. So it's not like fixed mindset people are just incompetent and they don't know what they're doing. No, really, the fixed mindset is something very flexible, and it's more like something that we can adopt from time to time. What can happen is we can reach a certain level in a certain field, and then we get into this fixed mentality and we just don't go any further. And that can present problems in our career and in our relationships. And actually, even though I consider myself to be I'm very learning orientated, I have several projects on the go at once, like learning projects and things that I'm trying to improve. And I generally consider myself a growth mindset person. I notice myself falling into the fixed mindset in certain areas of my life. And I start comparing myself to people as though my inability in that area is somehow a reflection of me and a reflection of my innate, unalterable nature. And I can see the problems with that. So I would really advocate growth mindset. Let's look at the growth mindset now. The fundamental thing about the growth mindset, or the fundamental pillar to it, is the belief that I can learn and grow, I can change, I can practice and get better, I can put in effort, I can persevere, and I can learn from my mistakes. And eventually, if I do enough of that, I will improve. So you can see it's really the polar opposite to the fixed mindset. The growth mindset also assumes that being unable today, so not being good today, doesn't necessarily mean you won't be able to tomorrow. It's really a function of your effort, diligence, perseverance, learning materials, the people that you're exposed to, and so on. It's not about your supposed innate ability or talent or disposition towards a particular area in life. The growth mindset person, therefore, is willing to go in there and make mistakes. They're willing to put themselves in positions where they're going to fail because they realize that being exposed to those moments actually is a pointer to where they can improve and where they can take their abilities to a new level. It's not It's not saying anything about them as a person or as a personality, or it's not like a moral judgment against them. It's more just feedback. It's a mirror of their current level of competency, and therefore they are happy to go in and fail and make mistakes. The growth mindset person delights in new challenges and opportunities because, again, these are opportunities to learn. They're not like they're not like us wandering into territory that'll somehow out our incompetence and our innate uh, lack of worth. No, it's really that new things are an area for us to improve and a method for us to learn about ourselves. And the growth mindset person actually believes that our potential is unknowable, that although our current level of competency might seem low or limited or way behind everyone else, actually over time, over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we can change a lot as people, and therefore our potential really doesn't have any limits. And sometimes we look back in our personal history and we think, how did I become that person? How did I go from where I was to where I am now? That's very typical of the growth mindset. And I can definitely vouch that our potential, we have way more potential than we think in all areas of our lives. And often our current level of competency actually becomes irrelevant over years. And we can look back and think, wow, I've really come a long way. And this can be applied to really any area in life. Let's get into the gifts and the gremlins of each of these two mindsets. So first of all, we'll look at the gifts and gremlins of the fixed mindset. Gifts and gremlins really just means pros and cons, but it has a better ring to it. And the point here is that none of them are adequate in and of themselves. None of them are perfect. So we want to look at both and we want to appreciate what's good and bad about them, the gifts and the gremlins of each. The gifts of the fixed mindset person, and you might be surprised to hear me talking about the gifts of the fixed mindset because I was maybe talking about it a little bit negatively. The gifts, it does have gifts. One of them is that it can appreciate its current level, and its eyes aren't on the prize. It's not always looking forward and saying, how can we improve? How can we do this better? No, the fixed mindset is more, I'm happy where I am. I don't want to improve. I don't want to become amazing in this area in life. I'm happy. And there's a certain level of self-acceptance there, although I would also say that self-esteem can be an issue with the fixed mindset. But there is a level of self-acceptance there because it's not, I am enough at my current level of competence. There's no dramatic, desperate need to improve. And the fixed mindset can just chill, it can relax, it can say, wow, I've achieved all this, I'm really happy, let's take a break, let's enjoy the journey, let's reflect on what's become, let's reflect on what's come before and not get lost in our goals and our dreams and our fantasies. So those are the gifts. It gives us a certain level of groundedness and presence if it's healthy. Let's look at the gremlins of the fixed mindset. So there's a few of these. I would also say that the fixed mindset is sort of associated with crippling self-esteem, because if you're constantly alert to criticism and you're constantly trying to sort of deflect it and deny it as though it shouldn't exist in the world, then really what it's saying is that you already undervalue yourself. If someone else undervalues you or undervalues your work and tries to give you advice to improve it or improve yourself, and you take that in a bad way, it's really a sign that you aren't comfortable in yourself. You're not comfortable in your own shoes. So while I said that the fixed mindset is happy, I would say yes and no. It's not one or the other. It depends on the perspective you take. The fixed mindset person resists failure. Now, this is a problem because if you've ever learned something or improved in any area of your life, you'll see that failure is just part of the learning process, and it's also part of Some of the biggest failures that we have in life, some of the biggest personal challenges that we have in life are the ones that give us the most wisdom, the ones that help us self-transform the most. And if we live in a bubble where we cannot fail, we cannot do something wrong, we cannot have negative experiences, we are not going to improve. And sometimes the improvement is absolutely necessary, yet we're not seeing it because we're not exposing ourselves to novel challenges. The fixed mindset can lead to stagnation because it can stop us from taking on new pursuits in life. It can stop us from traveling to new countries. It can stop us from trying out new careers. It can stop us from learning new skills. And that could be a huge issue. It has us pass the buck on to other people, because if our qualities are fixed, then we can maybe say it's not our fault that we're not good at something, because there's nothing we can do about it. It's just my genetics, or it's my makeup, or it's my parents. My parents weren't good at that, so I can't be good at it. Those kind of things. It can be build like this victim mentality, as if the world is like molded you to be a certain way and you can never change that. The fixed mindset person can also be quite negative in their view of their self and the world, and get jealous of others, because if we see someone else doing something really well, then and we can't do that very well, the implication is that, oh, they were just born that way and they just knew how to do it from the very start, and therefore there's no flexibility there. And so we have to get jealous, because what else is there to do? We can't say, oh, that person works really hard, that person challenged themselves, they learned, they overcame their obstacles. Sorry, got a bit of a cough today. Because we see it as an innate thing, we have to be jealous of someone else, because it's like they're inherently better than we are. The fixed mindset could threaten your professional life, especially now where, there's more people in the world, there's also more jobs in the world, but people always say we live in an ever more competitive world, and if you're not willing to improve yourself and improve your skills, and you fundamentally believe that you are fixed to be a certain person, that could be a big problem in your professional life. And I guess the final gremlin of the fixed mindset is that it's based on a false idea. The idea that we are fixed as people, that we have innate characteristics that cannot be changed ever, with no amount of work and learning can change them. It's just fundamentally false, and we can actually grow and learn throughout life, and really it's a matter of, part of the game is just to believe that you can change. It sounds so simple, but it really is, because if you believe you can make something happen, that's the first step, because it means that you're going to take action on it. The fixed mindset person doesn't get that. That said, let's look at the gifts and gremlins of the growth mindset. So there are a lot of gifts to the growth mindset, although it's not all rainbows and butterflies. So some of the gifts of the growth mindset: it's very empowering, the growth mindset, because it shows us the way. We have this inbuilt idea that we can improve through learning and challenge, and that's inherently empowering, and it shows us how to actually get from A to Z. It can open our mental doors and have us realize our potential, because we aren't fundamentally fixed. If we want to become good at something, we want to change something about ourselves, we want to have better relationships, a better career, better hobbies, then we're open to that. We're not shut down from it immediately like the fixed mindset person is. The growth mindset person is persistent, because they know that if they just keep practicing, then they'll get better. They are persistent and they stick with it. The growth mindset focuses on practice and desire rather than competency. And the powerful thing about this is that it's applicable to all fields. So it's not just, we can really practice in anything, whether it's speaking, writing, psychology, relationships, musical instruments, languages, whatever it is. The focus of the growth mindset person is the practice, the number of hours, the amount of effort that they put in, rather than the field. And this I'm not guaranteeing that the growth mindset person doesn't have fear, but what they'll be able to see is that their fear is a function of their current level of competency, and that all what's actually required is the practice and the persistence. It's not innate ability, and therefore they can overcome their fear and get good in something that they might tend to think that they wouldn't be able to get good at. The growth mindset person is ready to brute force it. And this means that they can go from zero to hero. So they can go from someone with no experience to someone who's an expert in that field. And that's actually how we become experts. We're not just born experts. We actually need to practice and put the effort in to do that. And the growth mindset person believes in that, which means that they can do it. The growth mindset person tends to succeed in several areas, and it's to do with it's this focus on practice and persistence and improvement, rather than the field or innate ability or their innate talents or dispositions. It's really more about practice. So they can just choose something, hammer, hammer, hammer away, and eventually they will become good at that, and they can do that in several areas. The growth mindset person intuits their potential and gets excited by it because, again, they see that their potential, even any potential that they imagine now, is a function of their current self, and therefore the potential that they actually have is probably way, way, way beyond that, and that can get you excited. And again, the more we grow, the less we know our potential is, and the growth mindset person probably understands that a lot more than the fixed mindset person does. Let's now look at some of the gremlins of the growth mindset. And it's really sort of the opposite of the gifts of the fixed mindset, and that if we have an excessive growth mindset, what can happen is, and I certainly know like professional athletes professional sports people, for example, who are in this trap a little bit, that they have such a growth mindset. They know that they can improve through practice and effort so much that they don't actually appreciate their current self, and they don't celebrate their victories. For example, after they've won a tournament, they just go to bed, get up the next day and start practicing again. They never feel fulfilled because they see their current self as in need of improvement because they know they can improve it. So they want to take it to the next level. They don't appreciate it, and they can get overly critical of themselves because they're constantly comparing themselves to the best and thinking how they can get there. We might have a rabid obsession for growth and improvement and all this without bringing in a degree of self-love and a degree of looking back and appreciating what we've achieved already. There might be impatience because the growth mindset person is so used to learning, so used to going outside their comfort zone, so used to receiving criticism and using it to improve themselves, that they can be like, I need to improve, I need to improve, I need to improve. And the growth mindset could actually be a symptom of that as well, like a desperate need to improve and become better. Their eyes might always be on the prize, so although they might enjoy the practice, they might be always thinking too much about what they're going to achieve from the practice, what it's going to lead to, rather than enjoying the process of it. The growth mindset person might also see everything as an issue to be solved because they know that improvement is possible. They know that they can be better, and they know that others can be better. And so they are always looking for like areas to improve, for chinks in the armor, so to speak, instead of appreciating what is already here, what they already have. Great. Now we're going to look at the effects of these two mindsets on our career. So this is one of the big areas of self-transformation that I talk about. And the fixed mindset person is quite a dangerous mindset to have in career. What happens with a fixed mindset person in career is they might get to a certain level of competence, a certain level of responsibility, or a certain position in a company or in their field. And once they reach that level of competence, they just create a shell around themselves because they don't think that they're able to improve, and they just stay at their level of competence for the rest of their career. and they have minimal promotions or career advancement. They stop doing training. They become a big fish in a small pond, and they're happy with that. They might deflect and deny any criticism that they're given by bosses or colleagues, and they they essentially they don't want to improve. They don't want to become better in their career, and that can be an issue, as I mentioned earlier. Can become an issue for them just on a personal level, because doing the same job for 20, 30 years, the same position, the same tasks can become mind-numbingly boring. And on another level, they are more replaceable because they're not actively trying to move forward in the company or grow their business or whatever it may be. They're not moving the ball, and therefore they become average and they become replaceable. The growth mindset, however, I was being quite negative about the fixed mindset. The growth mindset person is open to criticism in their work, and they actually use their feedback to their advantage to improve. They work with their colleagues to improve their skills. They ask what they could do better. They're asking for feedback. What have I done wrong? What have I done well? How can I improve as a result of that? They're into professional training because they know that they can improve, and they're willing to go outside their comfort zone. They are generally going to have more promotions and more responsibility over time, and they become a small fish in a big pond. So you can see how this is very practical, and I want you to really look out for the fixed mindset and the growth mindset in your career. And it might not just be, again, it might not be a black and white thing. There might be certain situations or certain days or certain tasks even that you're doing that just they sort of bring on sort of certain aspects of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So do look out for that. And finally, let's look at the effect of these two mindsets in our relationships. And I'm specifically talking about, an intimate partner relationship here. Although these insights can be applied to many others as well. The fixed mindset person is okay with stagnancy in a relationship, and they're okay for creating certain roles, certain responsibilities within a relationship, and just keeping them as they are. There's no mixing up, changing it around, improving, trying out new things, trying out new responsibilities. No, it's let us get our predefined roles and let's stay in them, because that makes me feel secure and comfortable. The fixed mindset person can be quite insecure in a relationship because they don't fundamentally believe that they can improve, and so they need this sort of constant affirmation from the other person, and they need to be put on a pedestal. And when that isn't the case, then that threatens their sense of identity. Criticism is not welcome, so they don't welcome criticism from their partner, because if you're telling me I'm not doing something well, then it means that I am faulty and I am not enough. And the fixed mindset relationship can have this flavor of being like a zero-sum game. It's like one partner versus the other partner. And it's like every argument that comes up, every issue that has to be dealt with, it's either one person wins, they prove themselves right, they prove themselves to be in the superior position to the other, or the other person does that, and it's just a zero-sum game. One wins or the other wins. There's no shared growth there. Talking about growth, let's look at the growth mindset in our relationships. In growth mindset relationships, partners are more of a team, or like a collaborative force, and they're helping each other to grow. They see the relationship as an opportunity for them to improve their weak areas and to see parts of themselves that they hadn't seen before. They use it as an exercise for solving problems together and working towards solutions that benefit both people. Partners in a growth mindset relationship are happy to receive criticism because this provides them valuable information that they need to improve and learn and to grow as people. And this can include anything from, cleaning the dishes to our children, how we raise our children, to our communication, to our moodiness, and also fixed growth mindset people are more willing to go to therapy over their relationships because they realize that their current level or the current, say, dysfunctional patterns in the relationship are actually subject to possible improvement. They're not fixed in stone forever. So great. Those are two areas of our life where the fixed mindset and growth mindset have an impact, although they have an impact across the board. How do we adopt the growth mindset? I'm going to leave you with a few tips here for how we can adopt the growth mindset. I've got 3 ideas for you here. First idea is to look at growth-minded people and just imitate them. So imitate how they see life, imitate their practice routines, imitate the habits they have, and that'll bring on the growth mindset in you and it'll help you access it. The second one is to start a new pursuit from scratch, almost like an experiment. And what to do is deliberately apply the growth mindset from the very start. I've not done this just as a full-on experiment, but since learning about all this stuff, I've really noticed that I am now applying the growth mindset to many, many areas in my life, and I'm constantly asking myself, again, this might not be a good thing. I'm asking myself, how can I improve this area in my life? What am I not satisfied with it, and how can I change myself to get better results? And yeah, if you start, even if the growth mindset is you're far from it right now, you can start this pursuit and use it as like a trial and use it to infuse your life with the growth mindset. And also, third tip is to develop huge levels of self-mastery, so huge levels of your own psychological workings. And this will help you uncover the reasons why you have the fixed mindset. Because the way I see it, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset aren't just set in stone, and they actually have a rhyme and reason to them. And a lot of the times it can be trauma, for example. It can be the things that we've picked up, the things that we've learned in our childhood. And so having strong levels of self-mastery, of knowing your psychology and how it works, can really help you shift into a growth mindset, because it can help you undo all the patterns, the mental patterns that stop you from adopting it. Great, thanks for listening to this video on the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. I want you to leave me a comment telling me what your dominant mindset is. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Come to my site for more articles, ebooks and courses on self-transformation, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more. Take care.